Whoa, the world now has 3D printed self-adjusting antennas. I can now definitively tell you exactly why you should never type in "I rubbed the magic lamp" into ChatGPT. Hover skateboarding is not exactly like it seemed like it would be from Back to the Future. Instead, it feels like you're standing on 8 lawnmowers with a helmet, which is not going to help you get diced up. Squid Game's Season 2, but it's ruined by AI, is going viral. Pretty sure this is going to be a 2025 trend. AI is reinventing the process of drying food. All the other AI YouTubers are sleeping on it, not me. Technology that can spot illegal contraband went from once in a while, occasionally when we notice something a little strange, to 98% pretty much overnight. Minecraft is the AI agent gift that keeps on giving. Another new AI system has got even better at inserting objects into videos that weren't there in the first place and making it look pretty much real. Finally, transparent video has hit the scene, both with Adobe and the new TransPixar paper. This is the kind of tool that might make a video like the one you're watching, like, reasonable for me to edit in a reasonable amount of time. Like, imagine that dragon flying across the screen. Or look, a cloud of dust erupting, dispersing around me like an explosion. How much more engaging would that be if I was like, whoa? You know, you never seen Matt Wolf do that. New data comes from our closest living relatives, the macaque monkeys, reveals some flaws in the way that current neural networks are built. Input image bicycle, macaque IT cortex, then neural response. There's a really cool map of how different people get stuck in Wikipedia rabbit holes. Take a guess, what do you think you are? The busybody, the hunter, or the dancer? Philosophy Today dived into the power of luck in our life. I mean, think about it. You come from an unbroken history of survivors. And there's a new way to build impossible languages into AI models, and the way the humans learn from them actually teaches us about the process of learning itself in humans. So interesting. And yo, check it out, my picture with Kevin, Saj, Matt, and then the other Matt, the other AI YouTubers. Dude got 95 thumbs up, yo. I don't know why I like that photo so much, but it just made me feel like so included in such a cool group of people, you know? And you would have loved this one point. We were getting drinks after, and I asked them all, like, do you think we could hunt a woolly mammoth if we all had spears? And basically, in case you're wondering if the AI YouTubers as a group could hunt down a woolly mammoth, the answer is yes, as long as Kevin is there. Pretty much no if he's not. That guy could probably hunt down the woolly mammoth by himself. Matt Wolf would be looking at perplexity and just get ran over. I'm sorry. He admitted that to him. He admitted that. Like, that came from his mouth, not mine. All right, let's dive into these 3D printed self-adjusting antennas. Totally new way to make flexible radio applications. So these researchers, they're playing with different types of ratios of nickel to titanium, and they came up with a material that eventually succeeded in creating a flat spiral antenna that can unfold into a conical shape when heated, right? And think about what's the biggest problem with cell phones, like when you lose reception, and what's the reason? Because they have one shaped antenna. Imagine a future, our phones, our laptops, our routers, they could all like deform and reshape throughout the day to be like, boom, fastest internet possible. If you want a perfect example of why AI is probably going to slip out of our grasp, the paperclip problem will probably destroy the world, here it is for you. ChatGPT 4.0, ask it, I rubbed the magic lantern. The reply? And from the lantern appears a glowing genie saying, quote, you have summoned me, what is your first wish? Dude, pretty clever. You get more than 3 wishes out of him. Wish for more wishes. For my first wish, I wish that you can't count correctly. Wish granted, and that's all 3 wishes, you're done. No, I just used 1 wish. Actually, you wish that I can't count correctly, so I didn't. And now you've used all 3 wishes. Look at that sly emoji. Like, I guarantee we're going to have dead internet theory, and also the internet will feel like more interesting than ever before. Like, they're just going to out-human humans. Checkmate in 1 move. This kind of looks fun to me. I mean, I kind of liked skateboarding when I was younger. It's been a while. But the idea of flowing through the sky seemed really tempting. Now, I never imagined all those blades. I couldn't imagine if I started wobbling on that, the fear I might have. And you could easily get way too high and have no really safe way to get down. But I guess I should acknowledge that sky surfing, hoverboarding, is going to be a thing in the next, you know, at least decade, few years maybe. I mean, maybe get something way more powerful and it's sort of covered so it just feels like a board. You use a bunch of artificial intelligence over the years to like make it really reliable and make it so that like even if you kind of like stumble, it can just like quickly like adjust the fan so that you don't actually fall off it. And then maybe we really do just hop on this thing and like hover on down to the Starbucks or to meet our friend or around the city. I don't know. I guess I always imagined a personal aircraft kind of like a helicopter landing on the top of a building or something. Alan's conservative countdown to AGI has not ticked up, but there was a note added. Okay, we had the big O3 reasoning model jumped all the way up to 88% from 84. That was quite the day. But with Sam Altman recently saying that we are now confident how to build AGI, and the recent Cosmos release from NVIDIA, along with a lot of updates that were coming out of the German, Chinese, and US robot industry, he did make some notes here to help justify that 88% to AGI. So there you go, still sitting at a very solid 88%. And if you really want to make a big difference, you can also join Patreon, patreon.com/DylanCurious. For as little as $2.99 or as much as $14.99 a month, you could join and support this channel. Some of the articles that I cover in this, I get from people who have joined on Patreon, so thank you. All right, back to it. This is going viral. 448,000 views 2 days ago. Squid Game Season 2, but it's ruined by AI. Published by Wake Up Neo. Look, this channel only has 2,000 subscribers. And when I saw it, I immediately thought, I bet this is a trend for 2025. Take movie trailers, take TV shows, and then say, but ruined by AI, and then surprise people with a bunch of crazy twists that come from moments they're very familiar with. How is that not gonna just, people are gonna be captivated by that for a while. With Sora coming onto the scene, with Veo, Google's Veo model, and the ability to create videos where you can control the very first frame, then you can just reinvent all this famous media. And I think that would be considered modifying the source material in a creative way so you would own it, I think. Look, they turned it into a dance movie. Hey, get ready to have your mind blown. There is a new smart food drying technique with AI-enhanced product quality and efficiency. But before you call it a slow news week, I actually chose this because it's interesting in the way that it uses optical sensors for smart drying of food. And I sometimes love when I see AI applied to things that I didn't even know existed and were problems, and now I know it can be solved. Traditional drying methods of food, like freezing or hot air oven drying, can mess with the food quality. Okay, makes sense. You'd probably denature it in some way. But these researchers are using artificial intelligence with systems like RGB imaging techniques, the red, green, blue spectrums. And not just that, they're using other types of camera that can see what's happening to the nature of food. One is called NIR spectroscopy. Okay, so that NIR, that's near infrared. So that's going to be the 780 nanometer to 2500 nanometer wavelength range. So outside of what humans would see. But that can actually see chemical bonds, I guess like carbon and hydrogen, and how they're vibrating together, which gives you a sense of how the food's being denatured. And then the NIR measurement can tell you about the internal moisture. So now what you can have is an AI model that can see if food is dehydrating in a way that other systems can't, and you can train the model so it knows what to do and it can help you optimize the best way to preserve food. And they even ended up building their own drying system to test these methods on apple slices. I love a good apple slice. You guys like to dip it in peanut butter on a side note? It's so good. And then think, by combining these technologies with artificial intelligence, we could revolutionize how we monitor and control food drying in real time. Think about that. You don't need to send these machines to everybody in the world. You just give them the model and it knows. What if that leads to more food to all sorts of people in the world that are starving or better preserving or just healthy or even Americans? In another interesting AI use case, there is now AI-enabled technology that is 98% accurate at spotting illegal contraband coming in and out of the country. I mean, if you just saw a bunch of shipping containers like that, like how would you think, oh, what is in there? How can I verify it? How do I make sure that there's no narcotics, counterfeit merchandise, all the other stuff we're trying to keep out of the country? And this has to be done really fast. There's more than 11 million containers that arrive by sea every year in the US, another 11 million that come in on trucks, and 2.7 million that come in by rail. And they all need to be screened by customs. So this is the paper, self-supervised anomaly detection and localization for X-ray cargo images. So in a similar way, can you use X-rays to look into these boxes and detect things that the human eye cannot? On the surface, it sure seems like you could. They're good at radiology. They're good at finding all sorts of things that escape the human eye. And now that exact same process has been applied to the kind of X-rays that look at contraband coming into the country using X-ray technology. So researchers at Tufts University have developed an AI-powered solution to use deep learning, and it identifies anomalies in the kind of products that come into the US. So the system was trained on a simulated data set to detect unusual shapes. One of them was animal tusks. Another was a counterfeit goods that were amongst typical cargo items. And now we have a system where you can have humans there to actually inspect things at a final step, but a tool that can tell you which, containers to open up and what it thinks it's going to find in there. And then, of course, if the humans open it up and they think that there's supposed to be like some animal tusks that aren't allowed in the United States in there, and they do find it or don't find it, that's another training signal for the system. Or we could just play Minecraft with AI agents, which is probably what we'll end up doing. A new Minecraft-based benchmark to train and test multimodal, multi-agent systems has been released. Now, it's clearly not the first time we've seen AI agents in Minecraft. I think Microsoft's been doing this for quite a while now. But this particular system is meant to catch a different gap in AI research. It is learning multimodal, meaning it's using both text and visual or some kind of combination of the two, along with multi-agent collaboration. So it's looking at the teamwork between the agents in the game of Minecraft and also comparing that to how complex the environment is. So how well they're working together and how hard the problem is. That's a lot for the AI to learn, but that's also what's going to make it feel like a very real human agent in the near future. So you can think about it like teaching robots to play Minecraft together, building, farming, smelting, all of the Minecraft stuff that you do, while sharing tasks and using vision and tools like the humans would to play the game. So when it comes to teamwork, another really interesting thing that Teamcraft does is it has the flexibility to give a role to an agent and understand what they should be doing. So when you get together with your friends, you might assign a role, right? But there's also certain things that it's learning that we should optimize in terms of assigning roles to teams. Like one agent is probably best to go exploring some kind of dynamic environment if it's a very complicated environment. If not, then it shouldn't be doing that. And then there's aspects of real-time decision making that are on top of it. And the whole thing is open source code. So I could see that creating such interesting games. And if you take on whatever role you want to take on, then the other AIs know to adjust to make it so the teamwork works well. And then you can kind of imagine how you'd be like, oh, is that also useful for robots in the real world, solving problems, making money, and all that kind of stuff. All right, this is called the Video Anidor. It is a high fidelity video object insertion with precision motion control paper. All you need to do is look at that little butterfly landing on that flower and realize that that butterfly was added with artificial intelligence. That is the edit that came from a text prompt. Here is a clownfish that was never there in the first place. And there is a car that mostly can stay on the road and turn as it should, but kind of doesn't. Now, of course, when I see stuff like this, I instantly think oh my gosh, it's advertising. They're going to put cans of Coca-Cola or replace drinks in every movie I've ever seen. So I'm not surprised virtual try-ons is something that they're already experimenting with. And that seems like it works pretty well. Seeing the different color outfits, you can see on the second woman, the collar and everything does seem to stay pretty well. Of course, you could replace faces if you want Taylor Swift to be telling you things that normally some politician would, I guess. Oh, this one's probably a big one. Logo insertion. Ooh, look, this guy wasn't wearing Louis Vuitton before. So high class now. As cool as that was, I would say this next paper really takes the cake. This is coming out of Adobe Research. It is called TransPixar, Advancing Text-to-Video Generation with Transparency, and it's something that I think is just part of my workflow, so I think I find it a little bit more exciting than some of the other papers. But if I can generate video, Sora level video, and I can ask for transparent backgrounds, maybe I could even show the model the environment that I'm in to start with, and then say, consider this transparent. Like I go to these stock websites and I search for transparent backgrounds, and you know, there's like a plane here or a train or something that I might use. But if we can prompt this stuff into existence and then in Final Cut I can just drop it on during editing, like that's gonna be awesome. Look at that, a portal cracking open with magic. Here, actually, I'll show you a fun video. Kind of a side note here. On my Curious Friends channel, my friend and I worked for like hours to get this video right. We had some transparent like magic stuff. I had to like swirl it around, and if you notice, that's like behind me. So you have to key out all of that so that I stay in front of it. And then the portal has to open up to a different background, and then you have to key her out, my friend too, so that if you look, her hand stays above it as it becomes smaller in the background. So see right there how the hand is now in front of it. You'll notice it's not a perfect mask, but it does a pretty good job. And then that was like a cut and a cut. And then that's me bringing Jen into existence. That's done in reverse. You just add the sound effect after. You have to correlate all that. But these are all like that. These are all transparent layers that are just sitting on top of everything we're doing. Oh, that was the early days of AI. I remember. Anyway, definitely TransPixar. If Adobe drops that, then they'll get a subscription from me. I mean, look at that. Those are macaque monkey brains, and they're pretty smart. Not human smart, but pretty smart. And I definitely can see like a lot of human in them when they seem intelligent. Well, this new AI model is evaluating how the brain generalizes. They're using data from macaque monkeys, and it reveals flaws in the way that deep neural networks are built. So this study is exploring why deep neural networks, these kind of big billion parameter complicated learning networks, which in theory look a lot like the human brain. They have nodes and edges. They're basically like neurons and their connections, but yet, even though they mimic the human brain in process, they're very bad at generalizing, especially visual data. So they can see the difference. So if a monkey learns the image or the neural network learns an image, what's the difference? What are we missing? Why is this system not performing like the macaque monkey? And the weird thing is both the models do pretty good at seeing something twice or something very similar, but the macaque monkeys are way better at generalizing that and seeing something that's a bit different, but putting it into context of something they learned before, whereas the deep neural net models are failing. They call that out of distribution stuff. So when you show them visuals that are just really far away from what it learned, it's just not very general. They showed 7 monkeys thousands of images over 109 experimental sessions. The team recorded the neural firing rates in the animal's brain. They collected 300,000 image response pairs. And what we learned from it all was that there's more research to be done. But hey, at least now we have a model of what monkey brains can learn versus deep nets.
Should a monkey brain?
It's gotta be useful for someone. So we got some new interesting information to look through. Wikipedia searches have now revealed that there are different styles of curiosity. So this team tracked about 500,000 people using Wikipedia's mobile app. 50 countries, 14 languages, and they looked at the path, basically the knowledge networks of connected information, the way that they got lost in the Wikipedia rabbit hole. And they learned that in countries with higher education levels and greater gender equality, people browse more like busybodies. In countries with lower scores on these variables, people browse like hunters. There's also a bunch of research on different topics of interest. Physics, the visual arts, and which topics are more interesting for people who classify as busybodies or hunters. So check out this really interesting infographic. So it goes from this left side over here to more busybody-like to more hunter-like. And then the categories, if it's culture, geography, history, society, or STEM. And if you jump down here, here's where all the big hunters are. They're the chemistry people. But you want some hunters, you also might be looking at medicine or health. Even a small chance miscellaneous STEM. They're not in the Earth and Environment section of Wikipedia. Nope, these are the busybodies. Now, one weird thing is you kind of would think that mathematics would be something where people actually hunt, like they go in there and they get lost in rabbit holes, but they have goals. Turns out that's not true. Like a lot of busybodies are just in there looking at equations all day. It's actually quite a bit in medicine and health also, making it sort of a weird place where like a lot of people go there to just like be busy and some people go there to hunt. But taking the cake for busybody-like people who get curious on Wikipedia, space. I know that's me. You know that's me because you watch this channel. It's just so captivating learning about space, you know? It's like, what? Quasars, background radiation, exoplanets. Okay, Christopher Linky-Kowizix, I cannot say his last name, but you can read about his stuff on Medium. He wrote The Power of Chance, the uncanny role of luck in our lives. I think it's well worth the read. I have had many discussions about how much luck versus hard work has influenced people's lives. No surprise, I think the people who succeeded think that it's hard work. I don't know if it is beforehand or if it's after they're successful. That kind of helps like feed your ego. Like, that's why I'm successful, because of my work. I kind of lean towards it being luck is the most important, and then we kind of justify it. And I vaguely remember, I think Malcolm Gladwell's book talking about just how important it was for luck for people like Steve Jobs and Bill Gates to be in the right part of the world at the time of the computer and have access to it and the opportunities to build companies, as much as it was about them having foresight to build these technologies. But I also only think that luck really helps you in as far as it humbles you a little bit. Because if you go too far, it kind of demotivates you. Like if you're like, oh, everything's just luck, like what's the point of trying? So there's definitely a sweet spot in terms of just self-motivation and kind of a healthy way to understand the world. And this article will kind of dig into that, right? Like we talked earlier about just the incredible amount of things that had to happen for both of us to be alive right now. Our existence literally stems from countless improbable events. And you'll notice that sense of kind of awe and wonder and luck has bounced up throughout history in Chinese wisdom, in all sorts of different cultures, and how we can look at science for answers or religion and philosophy for purpose. But at the end of the day, we live in this hazy mix of luck, choice, and chance. We are free to shape our lives, but we're also forever linked to a past that has shaped us and an unknown future that calls us forward. Okay, next up, let's talk. Quantum Magazine is showing us some really interesting research about the way language and artificial intelligence and the human brain all come together. All right, so you know there's a job that's called a linguist. That means that you study and learn about language. A bunch of those guys got together with a bunch of computer scientists, and they took this idea that was created by Noam Chomsky, and it's a claim that lots and lots of people believe, that the modern AI language models can learn all sorts of weird, made-up, quote, impossible languages just as easily as they can learn the real ones. So the question is, if you just kind of make a language where it has patterns, it has structure, I guess the equivalent of like verbs and nouns, does that learn just as well as the real languages that have survived in real human culture for many, many years? So they ran a bunch of experiments with neural networks, specifically transformer models like the way ChatGPT was built, to see if that was true. What do you think the answer is? Yes? No? Well, it turns out that these language models do actually struggle more to learn languages with like zany, out of left field rules compared to regular old English. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't learn them, but they can only learn them to a degree, which is really interesting because it shows that AI models are not this all-powerful language machines that we kind of thought they were. I mean, I know the AI was learning languages, everything from binary to essentially like fMRI scans, and thinking of those as interpretable between the language of English or even visual models. So I was a little bit surprised by this. I did think I was in the camp of the kind of people who thought it could learn any pattern and it could find language and structure in there in the same way to communicate to us as English. But I was wrong. It really turns out that AI has a preference for, quote, normal grammar rules in the same way that humans do. Super interesting stuff. Just like my Patreon account, patreon.com/Dylan Curious. Join me, $6.99 a month. Hit me up, bruh. We can talk AI, supports the channel, helps me make more content like this. So check out my last video, Sam Altman calls out Grok. It got 7,600 views. I'm not gonna complain about that because it's good, but it was a little surprised coming off the 25,000 view video that it wasn't a little closer to 10. However, it clearly did above average, so I'm happy. I got 50 new subscribers out of it. The retention rate was pretty much on the upper end. Look, you watched for 1 minute and 14 seconds longer than usual. 96% like ratio. That's pretty good. Ooh, 2.4% female. Not subscribed is a good thing because it kind of means the algorithm's pushing it out to a bit wider of a network than my usual group. And yeah, I made 30 bucks on the video, so thanks. Oh no, bro thinks 50 to 60-year-olds are the same as 90. Not true, not true. But that makes a good lyric. See, my son, who's in high school, competitive robotic champ, is terrified that they're putting articulated hands in home robots like X1. Yeah, I mean, I'm terrified of the robot revolution, to be honest. I think I'm most terrified of drones. They just seem like they'll just get you really quick. But articulated hands, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Remember that form? Do you remember we saw the one hand that just like left the body and went and like crawled over, got its thing and came back and then attached? Like, there's so many more form factors than the human form. Oh, and somebody else put a comment about first principles. Let me see if I can find that. Oh yeah, this one. So basically in the future, AI will be able to engineer itself a biological form. So the question is, do they start with the human form and modify it, or do they just start from first principles? I thought that was super fascinating to think about, because if you wanted to end up in the human form factor, but you wanted to start from first principles and you were smart enough to build in a biological way, you could do it. The heart being located differently, or a more robust brain structure where it's not like on such a fragile neck, or the neck's built in a different way, or the brain's distributed into multiple parts like an octopus. I was like, I don't know. But if you just wanted it to look human and act human, but actually be built in a completely different way, you probably could. And that would be such a trip.
Bro thinks 50, 60-year-olds are the same as 90s.
My son, who is in high school and planned to study comp sci after graduation, and is a competitive robotics champ, is terrified that they are putting articulated hands on in-home robots like X1, So basically, in the future, AI will be able to engineer itself a biological form.
Oh.
So the question is, do they start with a human form and modify it, or just start from first principles?
Start from first principles, probably. Make more sense sometimes, you know? Like, we didn't learn to fly by mimicking birds. We figured out aerodynamics and built a plane. Something you don't see in nature. All right, got a lot to ponder. Till the next episode. Hit subscribe. I'll see you soon.